Hey. Big dumb idiot. Looks like you got yourself a saucy hand.
Yeah, I do.
Try yourself a Picasso boneless wing. Maybe next.
Well,
Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Folks, welcome into a pre-game edition of the Crowd Assist podcast. I'm your host today, Kevin Messeri, here with brand new co-host of the Crowd Assist podcast, Mike Bundt. He'll be in on some of these episodes going forward with MereKat and myself. Excited to have Mike here for this great edition. Really get your feet wet here with the Jaguars game. And man, it's gonna be an interesting one. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to talk some Bills football.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, we're going to start right at the top here, and we'll dive right into it here at 12:06 p.m. as we're going live here for everybody as the Bills, are taking the field in pregame right now. We got the active roster on your screen right now. As you can see, Cole Beasley is going to go. Jordan Poyer is going to go, Mike. Pretty healthy roster outside of a few little things on the offense without Feliciano, who many by trade are saying is an addition by subtraction. And then obviously their tight end they're missing today and Dawson Knox. But Mike, let's start with our MAC connection with Quentin Mars, a guy from Bowling Green who's going to be the Bills' number 2 tight end, converted receiver at Bowling Green. Was said that according to his old head coach and current Bowling Green head coach that he would need teams to game plan against him. Mike, how you feeling about a first game day snaps of the tight end group from Quentin Morris?
Hey, you always got to like to have some action references. Always nice to see those guys get into the NFL. We'll see what he really does today. Not really high expectations from my point of view, but nice to see him. And if you want to go to the extreme action, you got Chris Manhertz, the former Canisius Golden Griffin, playing for Jacksonville. So we got a little bit of that small-time football getting their chance in the NFL today.
And Reggie Gilliam, Bills, all do it all yourself from Toledo. So there is some Bills offensive tight end fullback room full of max stars here as the Bills roster moves forward. You see a scratch again of Boogie Basham. Hotly contested Boogie Basham's not a go. Justin Zimmer's inactive, a healthy scratch today as well for Vernon Butler, another highly contested argument. You would like to see the Bills be able to have their second round pick active on game days, but they're continuing to roll with the 6 linebackers, extra special teamer, in really Andre Smith-Terrell Dodson combo, Mike, especially against the Jaguars. Do you really need that boost of special teams of the 6 active linebackers when the Bills run the most 2 linebacker sets in the league? And then you're going to activate, why not get a young pass rusher? Do you agree with that? Or are you kind of just like, I don't care? Or do you think he should play?
I'm kind of meh either way about it.
Okay.
All
right.
Coach McDermott, he has his ways and he sticks to his guns, and they've been pretty consistent this year with how they've done things. You see them rotating D linemen in and out every week. They stick with the linebackers. To me, it's not really make or break. If they start to get a little bit abused at any point in the run game, or if they're not getting a pass rusher, they're getting any deficiencies because of what they're doing to try to boost special teams, well, then maybe I'll have a problem with it. But this is the top scoring defense in the NFL right now. They're rolling, and I really don't see any reason to be critical when everything is going right at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just think this can be looked at as like a preseason game to get your players going a little bit, and especially in the second half, you would expect to be able to use it. And to me, it's like the loss, Mike. It's not like you're saying, scratch Cole Beasley or don't play, rest him, he's hurt. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if he's good enough to go, like we see Jordan Poyer and Cole Beasley are able to go today, play them. What I'm not saying is like you have a special teams linebacking group struggles at times in certain sets, and then you're going to scratch a defensive end. I don't love it, but, unfortunately, they do get the benefit of the doubt. And many people will say, Kevin, like, they're the GM, they're the, they're who runs this thing, but that's what we're here for, Mike. We're here to talk about these things on pre-shows. We're here to talk about scratches and inactives. We have to turn the attention to the game though now, Mike, and you have what looks to be a pretty brutal Jaguars team missing their best offensive and probably currently only fantasy player in James Robinson, which is a huge deal because now their entire team is Carlos Hyde and Marvin Jones Jr. That's not going to scare a defense, especially not the number one rated defense, right?
Yeah, this offense has been pretty horrible this year, and I'm surprised we're not hearing more national people talk about the struggles that Trevor Lawrence is going through this season. When Josh Allen was a rookie, all you heard about every week was how he's just not getting it done, how his numbers are ugly. And to be honest, Trevor Lawrence, at least from a statistical point of view, he's doing pretty poor. And you could say maybe even worse than Josh in some areas. Now, he's expected to be an elite player when he gets developed and when he finally starts to have things slow down for him. But he has not really had it going on this year. Marvin Jones is his top guy. Laviska Shenault, an okay complimentary guy, a solid rookie. But without Robinson, it's really hard to see this offense having a lot of success today, at least. Robinson has been their entire offense. The guy, honestly, I'm surprised he doesn't get the ball more considering the impact he actually does make. Carlos Hyde does not put any fear in me if I'm on the Bills defense. And I would expect the Bills to get a lot of pressure today. Trevor Lawrence holds on to the ball. One of the longer quarterbacks to hold on to the ball in the league. So I'd expect the Bills to get a solid pass rush and set up some fits for Lawrence all day, in my opinion.
Yeah, and one of the better run blocking offensive lines in the league, too. You look at some of the advanced statistics from this offensive unit, and really the only thing that sticks out to you is the run blocking ability that does give James Robinson a little bit more room than you would be led to believe. Similar to how the Titans play football, you look at the Jaguars roster and you have a guy, an all-pro guard, really, and Andrew Norwell, who might be being wasted away there right now. But, it was talked about a little bit in the trade deadline. It'd be smart for them to keep a really talented guard there for Trevor Lawrence. And then you have some other well-playing guys in Juwan Taylor, Ben Barch. So there is some good offensive line skills there. Brandon Linders, pretty close to returning at center, who's a good center. Cam Robinson. So they have some offensive line talent. And even Carlos Hyde has some good advanced statistics, and you're looking at that like it's not Carlos Hyde. It's probably the offensive line, and then they're going to continue to probably pound the rock today and go all in with the tight end Dan Arnold, a guy that's been getting a lot of snaps and targets lately, a fantasy streamer out there for many, and really. You mentioned Chris Mannertz, and Dan Arnold really is a guy that Trevor Lawrence is leaning on a lot right now. So, they've had injuries with Chark. They've had some drops. Shenault is not playing up to his standards. There's not a lot on this offense. The Bills are probably going to stack the box all day. They're going to blitz Trevor Lawrence. McDermott, as I've said on this show over and over again, feasts against average to below average quarterbacks. Kind of a little opposite of like a Tennessee team that seems to play really well against good teams, and then they go against the Jets and others, and they drop those games. So this is going to be a game where Sean McDermott is going to get after, in my opinion. He's not going to drop into zones. He's not going to drop 8. He's not going to play that game plan that you saw at points this year. He's going to go directly after him like he's Tua, and Tua comes out with another injury from the Bills game, 2 in a row. So that's sad to see as Jacoby Brissett there starts in Miami here for today. But Lots of quarterback injuries all around the league, and Trevor Lawrence is hanging in there. He's doing what he can. How are you feeling on a Bills defensive perspective? What are you doing? Like, if you were to come up with something, like, are you coming after him? Are you going to drop into zones and make him make decisions, which they will do at times? Make him confuse himself, make throws that he shouldn't be making, really go coverage heavy. Like, what do you think? Like, what's the way to attack a guy on a bad offense, but maybe has a lot of talent?
I say go with the Miami treatment that you did the first game versus Tua on the road. Try to confuse them at the line of scrimmage, give them different looks, fake pressure, drop back. The next time, send it. Just anything to really kind of get in his head. I think Trevor Lawrence is smart, but I think from my experience watching him this year, he's a little slow to make some decisions at times. That's not to say that he won't be solid. I know there's some experts that say he has shown signs already of developing into the elite player that we think he will be. But just throw the house at him. I think this is a game the Bills defense could dominate. And you get off to a strong start, good lead, and then you can kind of go more vanilla and back off a little bit. But I say early on, just try to confuse the hell out of him. Get a good lead, and then just kind of hopefully coast to a pretty comfortable victory.
I agree with you, Mike. And now as you go to the other side of the ball and you talk about the Bills offense, one that I'm really interested in talking about this game. Not a lot to talk about on the other side there, really. Number one defense versus struggling Jacksonville offense. There's only, and without James Robinson, there's only so much we can say. Good offensive line, not good talent, targets wise. Really, the receivers are dropping balls. It's just not good. We can only say, like, can they go against those tendencies? I don't see it today for Jacksonville, but yeah, I mean, it's football. They get paid. You never know if they come up with something to slow the game down, pound Carl Hyde for 4 yards a carry, and just see what happens. I don't know. It's conceivable that there's some game plan like that, but let's flip it over to the other side, which is probably a little bit more interesting. The Jags defense, which, for a while was historically good. Now it's not, against the Bills offense, which is really good. So, you have a pretty good matchup there. The Jacksonville tendencies are to stack the box and stop the run. They have stayed in that tendency pretty much the whole season. Now, could it be because they're playing, you would think that they're playing run heavy teams. They really haven't. They like to play in that tendency. They'll go into like a too high look to play some coverage, and then they'll still drop that safety in to cover into the box. They run as many box heavy plays as any defense in the NFL, number one. So they were going to come in today saying, we're going to probably stop Josh Allen from running the ball. We're probably going to be looking to make sure that Singletary and Moss don't get going, to kind of take that whole side of it away and just say, Josh Allen's really good. And, if he's able to find his receiver targets, well, it is what it is. But they're a team that's historically wanting to stop the run. If you're Jacksonville's defense today, Mike, is that the right move, or should you just totally go against tendency and say, I don't really care if Singletary beats me. I don't care if Josh Allen's legs beat me. Like, what are you doing? Like,
I think they 100% have to go against their tendency. I think if just you saying that, I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, they're screwed.
Yeah,
because the Bills don't want to run. They want to light you up in the pass game. And I did hear something earlier this week that was interesting. They said that maybe the Jags are more stuffing the box and trying to stop the run because of what they're facing from other teams. Maybe they're facing more heavier sets, stuff like that. Teams think that they can take advantage of them. But and then when you go up against the Bills, maybe they'll be more in having guys go back and trying to stop the pass game. But to me, this is lined up for the Bills to just go off. The Jaguars have one of the worst scoring defenses in the NFL. I believe they allow around 29 points per game. They also allow one of the highest opposing quarterback completion percentages. So it's one of those things where, yes, they have had success stopping the run, holding teams to under 4 yards per carry, but that's not how you win, and that's not how you move the ball in today's NFL. If they come out trying to stop the run, Josh could throw for 400 today. I'm just being honest. Like, you want to stop the run, go ahead. Let Cole Beasley, let Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, and Gabe Davis just go off. This is one of those, and you and me, if people don't know, we talk a lot of college football on bullet points. This is one of those MAC type matchups where UB is taking on an Ohio State or UB is taking on a Nebraska, where you just look at it and you're trying to rationalize how can UB stay competitive, and you just can't come up with anything. It's the NFL, so technically you can't take anybody for granted. And yeah, there's probably some crazy scenario where Jacksonville could win or make it a game. Maybe, only thing I can think of is that Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, not their defensive
we'll
end,
get there.
gets hurt early in the game.
But
other than that, it's hard to really come up with any really good scenarios where the Jaguars can actually be tight in this one late in the game.
Yeah, I'll dive into it real quickly here on the Jacksonville defense. You look at it; they actually inactivated Trey Herndon, a guy that they, has seen 140 snaps at the cornerback position, hasn't been great, played a lot from weeks 4 through 6, and they said we're done with him as a corner on the cornerback side. They're going to go with their rookie today, and Tyson Campbell, 112th ranked cornerback in the league, to try to get it done. That's going to be maybe he has some promise as a rookie. We've gone through it a little bit with Levi. But he's playing some awful football right now. And, I just don't see that game plan working out for him. Shaquille Griffin, a guy that's had some success from Seattle, that's going to be starting on the other side, most conceivably, 6 foot 200 marking, and guarding, Stephon Diggs exclusively. Now, probably their best defensive back against our best receiver. Diggs should still have options to win. And he isn't by any means the best cornerback in the league, but he is a solid, I would call him like a really solid number 2 corner or a back end number 1. And he's going to be playing the shutdown role today here for Jacksonville with Tyson Campbell on the other side. Good. I hope Tyson Campbell can develop into a player. He was taken 33rd overall. So we'll see, but today it's going to be a struggle all day against Emmanuel Sanders. And then, in the slot, they'll try a few different things. They've used Clay Brooks in the past. He didn't work out in the slot. They've gone to a safety look, and they're really trying someone by the name of Rudy Ford, excuse me, in the slot as of last week, in the last couple weeks. So could Rudy Ford get the matchup against Cole Beasley? We'll see if it's Rudy Ford, if they're going to go with Chris Claybrooks. But Mike, long story short there, it's going to be tough. Besides, and okay, like Shaquille Griffin's okay, and he'll probably win a few routes against Diggs. Outside of that, they're going to get beat up all day by the Bills' secondary options, and Josh has had to go to those quite frequently with teams really only having one good DB, putting him on Diggs. Diggs gets his catches here and there, but it's going to be a tough day for this Jacksonville defense when you're looking at that unit. And then you go down even further and you start looking at their linebacking core. And, Miles Jack's a pretty good player in his own right. He's played okay at times this year. But Damian Wilson, a guy that's seen 400 snaps, and he hasn't played very well. And they don't really, they really play those two exclusively for the most part. And it just hasn't been great from that back 7 unit. It's going to be a rough day. So maybe that's what leads them to stop the run and say, you know what? We're going to struggle there anyways. We might as well take one side of the ball away, and maybe get lucky with bad quarterback play or something. If
it was the year 2000, maybe it could have some success, but it's 2021.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's almost a college coach coming into the NFL game, not realizing it's a different time. And another issue this defense is having is they don't get takeaways. I believe they have 2 interceptions and 1 fumble recovery on the year. That's 3 takeaways. And in that many games, that is not good, especially when you have a rookie quarterback that is giving the ball to the other team. They're just bad all around. I went into the year actually thinking that Jacksonville, not that they would be good. Obviously, we knew they were going to be a poor team, but I thought they could be maybe a 6-11 team with the new 17-game schedule. I thought maybe they could win 6 games. Elite rookie quarterback. I thought maybe Trevor Lawrence could be a 20 to 25 touchdown guy, be one of those quarterbacks that could spread the ball and make a name and really kind of show up, kind of what like Burrow and some of the other young guys that you've seen in recent years. But it just hasn't played that way. I know QBR is a flawed stat, but Lawrence has a QBR of around 36 right now. And it's just one of those things where they're not just bad. They have been awful on both sides of the ball. The only really good game that I would say they've had this year was a loss against Cincinnati, where they had a 14-0 lead and really had the Bengals on the ropes. Their only win, Miami, that was kind of a fluky game as well. They needed some late luck and honestly some horrible coaching decisions by Brian Flores to get that win in London in their home away from home. And you look at it, they played the Texans, which is supposed to be the worst team in the NFL probably the last 3 years since the winless Browns. And the Texans just smoked them with Tyrod. So this team isn't just bad. They're the worst team in the NFL until they do something to show otherwise. The Bills should take care of them like they are the bottom feeders in the league.
Wow, well, there you go. There you have it today from Mike Bundt's keys to the game there. Now, the one thing we didn't talk about and wouldn't be fair here to not talk about their defensive line is pretty good. The other Josh Allen, we're calling him right now, is a pretty good player, 8th ranked defensive end in the league. An underrated defensive end on the other side in Dwayne Smoot. They don't rotate like the Bills. Those two are going to play the majority of the snaps here today. And they're good. That's the strength of this team. So if they have anything that they're saying our DBs suck, this is where they're trying to make up for it there with Josh Allen and with Dwayne Smoot, who will gladly probably see over 40 snaps apiece. They really only have one backup defensive end, a guy they took in the first round last year, and Kalavion Chason, a pretty solid rotational guy. Would have liked to see more out of the 20th overall pick in 2020, but a guy that will get in for 20 plus snaps a game. Really the only backup defensive lineman that they have that they'll play, but their defensive interior is not very good. It's pretty poorly ranked in a couple of guys, and they rotate there a lot, though, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. They don't rotate the defensive ends, rotate their defensive tackles like the Bills do. Malcolm Brown, Jaheed Ward, Adam Goetz, Devon Hamilton, and Roy Robertson Harris, a couple of just pretty poorly ranked defensive linemen interior-wise. So they have 2 defensive pass rushers, an okay rotational guy, and then Miles Jack's okay, and Shaquille Griffin's okay. But it's really not a good unit, like not what they've had in just as recently as a couple of years ago. So it's just not a good unit. They're going to, get picked on all day. We'll see what they're able to do today. And leads me to the Bills offense having a lot of key matchups there. The Bills, if they do break tendencies and they have this weak defensive tackle position, do have good defensive ends. Maybe the Bills still are baited into running. We'll see. Like if you're going to make Jacksonville an already bad team play defense, if they don't play, it still probably goes into the Bills' hand of, if I was the Jaguars, I would probably play the tendency I'm used to playing. I would say if we're a run stopping team, we're good. We're pretty decent at that side. I probably would do that. I'm not going to lie. Rather than do something I don't do, already bad at it. I don't know. I just probably,
I don't know, Kevin. I see what you're saying. But the Bills really don't care to run the ball. I know they've made a more concerted
against Miami
effort this year in a few games, but they're going up against one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. You would think
that doesn't get turnovers,
that doesn't get takeaways. Why not just go off? I'm trying to look. Opposing quarterbacks against Jacksonville are 168 of 227, 74%. 74%. Do you know how bad of a defense you have to be to allow opposing quarterbacks over the course of an entire half of the season to complete 3 out of every 4 passes they throw against you? Yeah. I mean, that's awful. Opposing quarterbacks, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 8.9 yards per attempt, 289 yards per game, a 113.5
I think
quarterback rating. That is not just like one game. That is the entire year. Like, think about that, the game against, like Tannehill in the second half against the Bills, or when we played the LA Rams last year and they were coming back in the second half, where you're just like, oh my God, are we ever going to get a stop? Like, come on. And then imagine that being every single game you play.
These teams have a 24 turnover difference, Mike. 24 turnover difference. I mean, that's at this stage 3 turnovers different plus the Bills 3 turnovers. Like, That is insane difference. And by the way, you gave them one turnover too many. They only have 2 picks. So if they forced a fumble, they didn't recover.
They did force. I think they have 1 fumble recovery. So I think
do they? Yeah. ESPN has them at 0 fumble recoveries, 1 forced fumble.
I might be off on that then.
So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like it could be possible, but I only have them as 2 takeaways, 2 interceptions.
Oh, you are right. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
No, they don't get the ball on the ground ever. And then they give it away at 13. I mean, hate to see 13 too if you're them. I mean, it's 3rd and tied with Miami behind the Chiefs and the Jets. So it's just not going to get it done that way. I don't know what to say anymore, Mike. You're just not going to get it done on that side of the ball. Like they have, by all reports, an average special teams unit by the looks of it. So that's not good, not bad.
It looks like an NFL team that is lacking on talent on both sides of the ball, that is coached by a first-year former college head coach. I mean, that's what they look like. I mean, they were already the worst team in football last year by their record, and the only real major changes was
they don't return punts either. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
There's 6 return punts this year.
Think about it. It's kind of it was always kind of set up for this way. Like I'm willing to be a little patient with Urban. I want to see what he can do if he gets a second year, if he even decides to stay a second year. But it's just a team that is outmatched. And somebody always made a good point for me about why college and NFL are so much different. When you're coaching at Ohio State, you have a talent advantage in almost every game you play. It's a recruiting game. In college, good coaches are good because they recruit well or they make the most of inferior talent. Urban Meyer's never needed to actually, outside of games against Alabama, match up and be the better coach on the sidelines because he's always playing with these 5-star guys. Now in the NFL, he's playing with inferior talent compared to his competition, and you're asking him to be a better X's and O's guy than these guys that have been coaching the NFL for 10, 15 years as assistants and coordinators. It's just not going to work, and maybe it will down the line. But Urban Meyer is in over his head right now, and on and off the field. I mean, he's lucky to even still be the coach after his incident earlier this year. This is just a team in disarray, and there's a chance this could get uglier before it gets better for Jacksonville too.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. And it leads us to our score predictions for the game. We got a lot of analysis by me, got a lot of analysis by Mike. We got to start talking about it. If this game was in Buffalo, it's probably a 21. It literally is a 21-point spread. I mean, that's insane. Like that's something. I can't believe it's not even more on the road than it is. So I think is it still at 14.5? I think it might still be at, where's my free money football guys? I still think I don't know if it moved with the James Robinson news. I don't know if it moves that quickly, but that's like their best player. Like I would think if one person on the Jags, maybe Trevor Lawrence, if one person on the Jags was out, that should move the line.
It's funny you said 21 points if it's in Buffalo, because without even like thinking, that was the first thing that came in my head. This is probably a 21 point game, and I really don't know if playing in Jacksonville really makes it that much different.
Doesn't matter.
Buffalo. You're playing in front of a crowd that's going to barely be involved in the game. So the Bills probably look at this as like a nice little vacation. You go down to Florida, get some nice weather, hopefully, for a little bit, and then you come back.
Right now, the money line is to get 7 times your money on any dollar you put on the Jaguars. I mean, that's something. That is quite the money line. 7 times. You don't get anything by picking the Bills on the money line.
This is like BG Minnesota.
Minus 1,100.
Yeah, if Jacksonville wins this game, which there's always a chance, but if they win this game, that would be probably the most shocking result in the NFL this season. This would be like the Bills taking down Minnesota in 2018 when they were 17.5-point underdogs and coming off 2 of the ugliest losses you'll ever have seen. And
you have 14. Yeah, 85% of the bets are right now are 14. The Bills minus 14.5. So Vegas does win some money, most likely, if they do cover that spread.
And they
so
could. I mean, I normally in NFL, if it's over 12, I normally go
2 touchdowns is a lot to cover. I always get squirrely about it, but it just takes one Trevor Lawrence turnover and that spread's covered. So if that doesn't happen, absolutely, the 10 points is probably close. I mean, 10 points is probably where it's at. 10,
or it takes just some garbage time touchdown.
and that's the other option.
Jacksonville
Sure. The Bills are good at that, though. I will say normally that's true, but the Bills have been really good at the no garbage time. I'm impressed with the Bills' ability for no garbage time. Like in Tennessee game aside, which they lost, they just don't allow that score to come. Like,
this year, at least. I mean, that's you talk about 2 shutouts. The only way you get a shutout is if you
no garbage.
So
no garbage. Last week you didn't really see garbage. Miami scored 1 that took a Levi Wallace getting jumped over, which my least favorite Bills starter. Good play by them. Kind of play. Other than that, they wouldn't have scored that touchdown. So yeah, I mean, the Bills are consistently holding teams to 14 points or less, especially bad teams, which they are playing today. The Bills don't have the propensity to get jumped on by a bad team. You saw it last week was worst case scenario, and the Bills still covered. That was worst case scenario last week, and the Bills were still like, you know what? There's a third of the game left, like midway through the third quarter. We're just going to take over again. Like we're done.
I think that's why I love the stat that it unfortunately ended last week, that the Bills had an NFL record 15 consecutive games leading at the half, and now it's, I guess, 16 games not trailing at the half. But what I love about that stat is that it shows that the Bills come out to play and they ball.
They're great in the first quarter.
Starts, and there is no lag early in the game. And I think that's something that a lot of good teams do struggle with. A lot of good teams, they play down to the competition, and you don't really see that, as you mentioned, with this Bills team. They take every game seriously, and Miami last week, that was a little bit stressful, but for the most part, the Bills come out and they take care of business against the teams that they can take care of. Now, are they going to win every game by 20? No, this is the National Football League. That doesn't happen. But
covering the spread is like what Vegas is literally saying. You're this much better than the other team, whether it's right or wrong. We can debate that, but they're saying the Bills should win by 14 points. Yeah. If you go and win by 14 points, that's literally what you were supposed to do.
This is essentially what it was when we were watching the Bills take on New England for all those years. And you'd be like, wow, they just dominate all the time. Like, how do they win every game by 10, 12, 13, 14, 20 points, whatever it was? And you look at the Bills' point differential this year, and that's what they are. And I think you saw that change happened midway through the season when through last season, when Josh finally got it going in the second half. They went from being very good to dominant. And right now,
quickly,
you look at any way of measuring performance on the field, the Bills are just a dominant team. The 5-2 record actually makes it seem like they're more average than what they really are. Like they're the top team in the league right now, outside of record.
That's fine. That's fair, Mike. It's time to get our predictions in. We've broken it down every way we can with this Jags game. One last question, though, and then score prediction. Do the Bills win today with Davis Webb at quarterback?
Ooh, that's
QB4 by all. You could say 3. I think he's QB4. I think Jake Fromm plays today if Trubisky's out.
This is I'm biased when I say this, but I think the Bills team in roster is so much ahead of the Jaguars that if they had time to prepare with Davis Webb,
I agree with that.
Not an injury like that happens in the second quarter, but they had time to prepare with Davis Webb, I think I would pick the Bills still. And that's just because I think they just have the skill players. They're still going to get open.
They win by a lot with Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah. I think they could. I think they could still score 17 points and win a 17-14 game.
Yeah, probably. I think that the max Jaguars points today with the max Jaguars points with a turnover 17, like with everything going right, their max offensive output is 17 points. So literally Davis Webb's goal would to be at that 17 number.
Yeah.
Like roughly. And I think that it's possible. So I tweeted it. I think the Bills win today with Davis Webb for sure with a game plan. With a Josh injury, early second, late first, that's rough. That's about as rough as it gets.
Will you be concerned if Davis Webb was the quarterback? Is he going to turn it over? Is he going to make crucial mistakes?
They don't have a running game to lean on.
You don't have a run game. Are you going to get points to them? But I think I would have enough faith in the receivers that you'd have Cole underneath. You could maybe get over the top with Stephon or with Emmanuel Sanders. I still think they could, but let's hope that doesn't become.
I think it's fun though because it is one play. It's one play away, right? So what I'm hoping I'm hoping we see Davis Webb. I want to get a full fourth quarter of Davis Webb.
Oh, that would be great because then we'd be winning by 30 points. And
you don't keep Josh. If the Bills are up over 20 points, I don't care. You don't keep Josh Allen in the game. I'm sorry, you don't do it. Yeah. If it's close, obviously. But if you're up 20 points, you don't keep Josh Allen in this football. You take him out. You just do not risk it today against a team that doesn't have much to play for. You don't need to like stomp New England here today. If it was New England, that'd be different. You don't need to stomp New England here today. Like he should come out in the fourth quarter, like period. I want to see Davis Webb at some point today. The Bills maybe were probably hoping they could, use a little Mitchell Trubisky and run some plays. But Davis Webb wins this game with a full game plan, and it's still 50-50 if he had to play in the first half. That's my opinion. That's what's interesting about this game, Mike. But it's time. Score prediction. What do you got for us today?
I'm going to go 38-17 Bills. I think Jacksonville's going to score some points late. The Bills better show up or else we're going to look pretty bad. But everything on paper, everything statistical-wise says this should
not our fault.
It should be a blowout. And unless something crazy happens, like an injury to Josh or
it's got to be to Josh, to no one else.
Crazy things. I don't see a scenario where Jacksonville should be in this game. They just got destroyed by the Geno Smith-led Seattle Seahawks, and that team shouldn't even be able to score points on anybody.
And without their best player in James Robinson, they got destroyed. Yeah. So he went out in the first quarter, and this is proof of what happens. Yes, they have a little bit longer to game plan. I wouldn't anticipate just for sure it being that bad. But like missing your best offensive player is tough.
Yeah, and even the run disparity. You said Carlos Hyde had some good numbers, and I'm sure he does have some good numbers to him. But even the yards per carry differential between him and Robinson is 5.5, Hyde is 4.2. They're playing behind the same line now. Hyde has half the carries, so maybe that could play a little bit of a role in the difference. But I don't see how Jacksonville will be able to exploit this Bills defense. McDermott does great against younger quarterbacks at confusing them. Lawrence is a guy that wants to hold on to the ball. The Bills have the ability to get pressure. So it just seems like everything is lining up against the Jaguars in this game. So 38-17, hopefully it's a comfortable win where, like you said, in the fourth quarter, maybe we can see Davis Webb get some NFL snaps, which would be great for him. On a personal level, would love to see that for him.
Absolutely. And I've been sticking out this to me all day. I don't love to predict scores over 20 points. I got 34-14. That's about as much as I can feel comfortable doing, even though I do truly believe it could be worse. But I've got 34-14. I said the cap is at 17. The cap is at 17, but that's with a turnover. I'm giving 17-21. Like, I don't even feel great. Do the Jags score over 14? That's like the funner game to play today. Needs a turnover. They've gotten 2 weeks. They've gotten that 25% chance it doesn't go. 75% chance it doesn't go over 14 points. I like those odds. I don't think they can get over 14 points today without the garbage touchdown, which the Bills haven't been letting up, without the turnover, which they haven't been getting. If those things happen, yeah, they'll get over that number. But I've got 34-14 right now. That's the number I'm comfortable with. I'm feeling good covering the spread. That 52 points, right? The over on this game is set at over 48. I do think that it hits. I do think it just hits over 48. That's a fun one. That's actually the funnest part of this game if you care about that stuff. Do you think it hits over 48, Mike?
My prediction is 38-17, so I guess I do.
Okay, I just feeling good about it.
It'll be more because of the Bills than it will be the Jaguars.
Sure. But then you always have like the benefit of hitting the over, even if the Jaguars somehow score more, you're in good shape. So I'm feeling good about the over today, but I'm right there. I'm at 48 on the nose. So That's interesting. So I'm right there. We'll see what happens, Mike. But show sponsors, Outlet Liquor. What's your outlet? Picasso's Pizza, your best boneless wings in town. Get out there. Get those game day orders in right now. Put them on, get to your local Picasso's. Get your local case at Outlet Liquor. This is a pregame show. 15 minutes to kick off. Tune into your CBS networks. Things to think about. Do the Bills hit the over today? Does Davis Webb win if he has to play? And what can the Jags offense do? Those are a couple of points to leave you with. Mike and I both have the team covering and leading into a matchup with another awful team in the Jets that week. So we'll be back with you on Wednesday to talk about that Jets matchup. Probably have on Tyson onto the show from Let's Talk Jets. Let's Go Jets. Great guest for the Jets. Really, really, really fun guy that we're going to have on. Mike, we appreciate you for your first edition of the Crowd Assist podcast. Welcome to the team. Any final notes for the team today?
Nah, I think we hit it all right now.
You got it, guys.
Game time. Let's enjoy the game and let's go Bills.
Enjoy the game. Kick off in 15 minutes. We'll catch you on Wednesday. Have a good night.